Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of the Good Leader Podcast. It's only special because we haven't recorded in a while, but we're back. I'm refusing to say Happy New Year. What's the limit on Happy New Year? What's the limit? I'm asking everyone. When is it? Yes. January 1st, obviously. Tell me Happy New Year. What's the limit? We should stop saying Happy New Year at what moment?
Dina literally said Happy New Year to me yesterday, and I saw her last week, so
I said
don't
it to
know.
Anj today.
Okay.
I feel like the first time you see
And
someone
today is January the 9th.
that you regularly see.
Okay, if I don't see you until July.
I
Okay,
knew-
you said regularly.
I knew you were going to say that.
You said regularly. Fairness, you said regularly.
I think I say Happy New Year on New Year's Day, and that's about it.
Yeah, I'm like, I really can't think of when I've said it outside of like maybe the first couple of days of the year, or like you said, when it's a regular.
I think it's
like the
becoming a pet peeve
team.
for me. I think it's
I'm
growing into a
picking up
pet
on
peeve.
that.
Well,
I'm picking up on that for
I've
you.
listened a lot of
The energy is
podcasts.
strong.
A lot of podcasts took a hiatus, which I applaud. I think that's great. We did the same thing.
Yeah.
A lot of organizations took a hiatus, which we did also. We took 2 solid weeks off. So you come back in the office. If it's the first, I think, business week within, like January 1st fell on a Monday. Is that right? Yeah, fell on a Monday.
Yeah.
Cool. So you get that Monday through Friday. Tell me Happy New Year. After that, that's it. I think we're done.
Yeah, I could see.
I'm just saying, that's why I say I refuse on this one. You're going to listen to this podcast wherever you are, Good Leader Nation. You're listening on somewhere like January the 10th, 11th, 12th, whenever you're hearing this. I'm refusing. I'm taking a stand, and I'm not going to say Happy New Year because I feel like I've been Happy New Year'd by every podcast, but everyone now, because what I'm hearing is Happy New Year. It's not really the New Year, but this is the first time I've seen you, so Happy New Year. Well, we took a little break, so happy.
And also,
Just dive into January 10th, everybody.
get on
Let's
with
just
What's the
2
point?
feet. 2 feet in.
where are you coming from when you say it?
Thank you very much. I think it is thoughtless communication, which is another irritation of mine.
Yeah, I was like,
Please
there's something deeper
tell
here.
me. I haven't
That's
unpacked that, but
really
there's got to be
interesting.
saying that, Jess.
Of course.
Because I like it when people give me a mindful answer. You know, how are you doing? And some
Blessed.
Don't even get me started. You know that fires me up. You know that fires me up.
I'm so blessed.
I think you took the words right out of his
You
mouth.
did. You did. That's the worst. That's the worst. But there's also just like, fine, okay, good. I would actually I'd actually just like a mindful
I
answer.
don't think that usually people are
I like a mindful
scared
answer.
when I'm honest. I'm like, I could be better. And they're like, oh, well, why'd you ask?
I'm willing to be scared with you, Jess.
Wow.
Thank you.
Standing
I'm
as
not
one.
going to say
That's
it won't
it.
scare me. Not going to say it won't scare me because it very well might. I might be petrified.
It should.
Jess and I came up with a great phrase the other day as we were getting coffee in the break room that it's not what you do wrong that really matters. It's who knows about it.
And I would say, I would
totally
go so
agree.
far to
Wow.
say is like nothing has framed my life more than that statement.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just came up naturally in our conversation, and I was like, wow, I think that is a really true
And I felt
sentiment.
so validated. I was like, wow, he really gets me, that guy.
And
Yeah,
then,
that's pretty true.
And then we also acknowledge that there are things about each of our past that we do not want the other one to know. And we both acknowledge, like, wow, I really don't want to know anything.
And we will never
about that.
know.
And we will never know.
And
And
that's
that's great. That's
I
great for
prefer
both
it
of us.
that way.
Yep.
What
Jess
a
even said, and for
productive
those of you
coffee.
not listening, for those of you not listening,
We had a moment in the
you know,
kitchen.
turn your hearing aid up. For those
got it
of
on
you
the
not,
background.
not watching, if you've just listened to this and you're new to the podcast, to the Good Leader podcast, Jess Treat is about 20 years my junior-ish. You're about 20 years younger than me, right? How old are you?
I'm
You're
25.
You're 25-ish. Yeah, yeah. I'm 42. So,
Close.
and she came in as a student with us, as a summer staffer, and then worked her way all the way up to just
time.
grand master of the podcast. So
Look at me.
she's doing great.
Marketing
so she,
guru.
this was very interesting because
Hardly.
because it was fascinating because she looked at me and she goes, "Wow, I think I really don't want to know anything bad about you more than you." Not knowing about me.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, totally true. I could totally see that. We don't want our
I don't
mentors
even remember how it
or,
started,
or
but-
people that I don't know, I don't want to say too much, but at least, you at least respect
I
me.
think you have a gist of what I got going on, and that's all I need you to know. I don't need you to know anything else. And I like it that way.
I love you, Jess. I think you're wonderful just the way you are.
Love you, King.
Speaking of being
Lem
wonderful.
and I are just here as witnesses.
Speaking of being
You
wonderful.
guys need anything?
No, we're good. It's
Speaking
just
of being wonderful just the
cute
way you are.
relationship.
Cue the music because I have an Am I Wrong segment. No, not that music. Don't we have some Am I Wrong music? We always go back to the starting music. Is this the Am I Wrong music?
Sounds good to
We're
me.
working. Hey,
Am I
new
wrong?
year, new drops. New year, new drops. We're working on the sound effects. I like having music on the different segments,
Okay,
It
okay.
helps bridge us from one to the other. So
Here, how about
we'll
this
figure out
one?
some Am I Wrong music.
You want this one?
Maybe.
It fits
we'll
your
workshop
beanie
it.
look.
We'll workshop it. But
Really
right
fits
now,
the look.
here's my am I wrong? Okay, I am fired up because am I wrong? I want our podcast specifically to give good, practical advice. You know, we're here in the trenches with you, good leaders. If you're out there, you're trying to lead any organization of any ilk, even if that organization is your family, it is your personal relationships. You're trying to be the best version of yourself. I'm fired up. Am I wrong? Here's what I heard from someone on LinkedIn. Here's what really fired me up. And it's probably just my own jealousy coming out because the guy had like 700 likes or shares and
Are we
a
gonna
bunch
know
of
who it
reposts.
is?
I'm not going to say his name.
Okay.
I don't think you all would. I didn't know who he was. Not like Simon Sinek or Brene
Okay.
Brown or like a real headliner. Not like an A-list celebrity in this leadership world. But he's doing something right. He was British and he had a bunch of reposts on this thing. And I was like, okay.
I'm wondering if it's the same
It might
person
be.
I'm thinking
Well,
of.
here was
Okay.
the question. And this is where am I wrong? Now, I will, in fairness, if you all love this answer, you tell me. I want you to say, yes, I'm coming in hot and I'm fired up. But you tell me, you're like, Jared, I think you're off your rocker. I think you're wrong on this one. I like that answer.
I need everybody to know that he wrote down the entire transcription
By
of this
hand.
post and didn't
By
screenshot
hand.
it, didn't print it out.
He,
Use AI.
Handwritten.
on a yellow notepad.
You can take a picture
I
and you can
love it.
post it
I'm
so
thinking
people can
about
see
it.
it. Take a picture
I
and
was
post
thinking,
it.
Jess, you should take a picture.
It says LinkedIn rant for week 1 podcast. Well, because I did not want to just play the tape. I didn't want to play the tape. There you
Roll
go.
the tape.
Roll that
Jared's really
beautiful
showing
beat
his
footage.
age in these last
Didn't want to use
5
the overhead
minutes.
Came out.
projector.
I didn't want to just play the video
42
With
is
the
looking so
slides.
good right now.
because I don't.
No smart boards.
After all the nice things I
I'm
said.
sorry.
After all the nice things I said.
Hey, it's okay.
Jesse's got the beanie. He's trying to keep it hip.
I'm
Come on.
cold today.
Oh,
So I didn't want to play the video because I don't want to indict this person. He seems like a great guy. I'm sure he's doing good things in the world, okay? I just have a problem with this video and then want to parlay that into where we're going this year with the Good Leader podcast. Here was the question. Now, I say question. It was obviously a setup video. We do setup videos too. It's one of those things where I was like, this is not real. Like he took the question as if he's in some big audience. It's like, okay, your staff member just asked you that question so that you could say this thing. That's fine too. I'm going to make the same videos.
Sure.
Anyway, but that's what it was. Here's the question. How do you ensure a balance between firmness and empathy when leading your team towards shared goals? That is a great question. I actually really like that question. A great question that we could do an entire podcast episode on.
Yeah.
So I kept listening. You got me hooked, Jess.
Great
Whoever
question.
is over there LinkedIn messaging, I'm hooked. I was like, wow, I'm in. I want to listen to this video. It's about 1 minute long. Here's what he said. Right, great question. He was British.
right.
I'll save it, but insert British accent.
Why are you going to read it like that the
I
whole
could.
time?
I could if I wanted to. I could. He said, right, great question. But first off, get the basics right. Many people fall into this trap, but you've got to get the basics right before you create that right environment for people to grow and flourish. But as a business, every single role, you've got to know the purpose of it. You know, people need a job description, and you've got to set goals and expectations for people. And please document them. Share these documents with people as well. Communicate effectively, and honestly provide regular feedback because this is going to help resolve conflicts fairly, empower and trust people, and also be adaptable and understanding. Not all issues happen at work. People do have a home life as well, so be understanding of that. You've got to lead by example and coach and mentor people as well. That's very important. You know, celebrate the wins, but together, you've got to learn from those losses as well. So, by doing these things, you can create that environment where both firmness and empathy can coexist. It also happens automatically, and it creates that environment where a supportive workplace that you're really aiming for.
You didn't like it because he didn't answer it?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I'm like, he's not answering. He's
He
just
avoided
I
reading
don't
it.
think
like.
you're wrong.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, okay.
Whatever
Well,
you're
the
gonna say.
I was like,
reason-
that was a very shallow response.
It was a good answer, but he didn't answer the question.
Well, if somebody said, "Hey, sir, can you give me like the top 3 things you do as a
Or
leader?"
75 things?
Or 75 things you do as a leader.
There is a novel on this. On
He
this
got
sheet.
the leadership vocab workoup out and just started
That's
reading.
what I mean.
more-
I'm like, you're
reading
just,
more.
you're
was
just
every-
rattling off.
As I was listening, the first time I was like, okay, he starts out like, you got to get the basics right. I was like, okay, well, if that's your answer, fine. You know, like, you know what?
Yeah.
Don't even worry about firmness and adaptability, firmness and empathy. If you get the basics right, you'll create that environment. If that is his answer. I don't know that would be my answer, but okay, I can at least go that way. Then he goes, he just kept going. And I was like,
Yeah.
holy cow. Like, this is, but as I was like, okay, so communicate effectively, empower and trust people, be understanding and adaptable, celebrate the wins, but also learn through the losses. And then at the end, he just throws in this, it also happens automatically. BS! You just told me 75 things that I had to do right.
I'm not
that's
sure
not
if
automatic.
that's automatic or
None
natural
of what
or
you,
any
none
of
of what
it.
you said for the first 50 seconds is automatic.
Yeah.
So that's my rant. My frustration is that a bunch of people responded positively to this video. Not yours truly. No, sir. No way. No way. I didn't comment. I didn't share. I didn't repost. No way. I'm not going to.
But you know what? You didn't comment, and I think that's something to be said. You didn't harp on him. You
No,
didn't get the little bully fingers out, the bully typing
come on.
fingers
Twitter
out.
fingers.
That's
Twitter
weak.
fingers. I think
Some
we've
I
just
call them.
gotta some
I call them X fingers
Right.
X.
Formerly.
because it's X now. I'm hip. I'm with it. I pay attention to what's going on.
It is X now.
Thank
Yes.
you. X fingers.
Formerly known as Twitter.
Formerly known as Twitter.
So if you're a formerly Twitter finger, whatever it is, but you didn't do that. So I think that says something about.
You like that about me? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm trying to compliment you,
I
but
appreciate
it's
that.
not
I'm
quite.
taking a compliment. I just want to point it out for the audience. I don't. I am not a keyboard warrior. If I come across something that I absolutely don't
Keyboard
like,
warrior is actually what I was trying to think of.
unless someone really says something that I adamantly disagree with, like at my core, then I would come out and maybe I would still be nice about it. Be like, wow, I strongly disagree with this. But outside of that, no, I'm like, hey, that's what he thinks. Even if that's your answer, I think it's a terrible answer, which is why, hey, Paradigm Shift has a job, and hopefully the Good Leader podcast is speaking to people, because my rant is, that's the kind of stuff that I think people get, that it sounds fine. That sounds like in the soundbite, it's like, oh, wow, okay. And then if you really break it apart, it's like, what? I can't, number one, do all of those things. And then if I do all of those things, the answer, that is not how you create firmness and empathy. That is, how do I be the perfect leader for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
If I'm doing what he said, you are knocking it out of the park. You're not just creating firmness and empathy. You should be writing the books. If you're doing all of that effectively, wow, you are killing the game. Way to go. So my rant then into us in 2024 is, what do you get at the Good Leader podcast? What do you get in 2024? Here's what we're going to be about. If you're new to the show, maybe you've gotten bits and pieces of this, but we're going to discuss theories, and there are going to be some times that we are out of our league, but we want to discuss a topic. I think of when we talked about burnout, because none of us are counselors, none of us are psychologists. There are some elements of that we just have to discuss, but we want to try to bring it to a real-world application. We don't just want to leave with this. I don't want to ramble for 30 minutes and say a bunch of things that are just these buzzwordy, jargonistic titles that leaders should do, and then bunch it all together to every question. We want to handle topics and answer questions, hopefully in a way that gives you some inspiration, some ideas, and some things that we have learned as leaders in our different experiences. That's why we have different people on the podcast of different levels. But that's why our podcast is not one. We bring in guest experts at times, but this is more about being in the trenches together and taking ideas and saying, what does that look like for you? Have you tried that? Does that work? Did it not work? Did you do it again? Did you try it again? Did you scrap that idea? And wrestling with it together. So if you're new to the podcast, new to 2024, Happy New Year. It's ridiculous. See, it doesn't even sound right.
HNY.
It's ridiculous.
I
Happy
will
New
say,
Year.
Kat-
Welcome to the pod.
Kat texted me HNY, and I was like, what? Had a dumb blonde moment, and I was like, oh wait, it's Happy New Year. And I've just seen I've seen HNY like more.
I thought it was High New York. High New York.
Or honey.
Or
honey.
wow.
Like small honey.
That's tell me you're Gen Z without telling me you're Gen Z. The fact that no vowels are in that, and you automatically go to
the honey.
Yeah.
Tell me you're old, and I automatically went, Happy New Year. Yeah, got it. Especially on January 1st. Or did you send it like December
It was.
12th?
It was like at
Yesterday.
midnight. Like
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad that I'm not wrong.
You
Today,
said
we are talking about New Year's transformations. Yes, I did the whole rant around New Year's, and here I've got some shtick on New Year's. This is actually, though, you've probably already statistically violated your New Year's resolution. Statistically, within the first 2 weeks, violated that sucker. Within the first 2 weeks, people break their New Year's resolutions. It's something astounding. Do you remember the stat?
No,
Anj?
I'm trying to remember the quitting day. There's like a national. Do you
Is it
remember
the
this?
14th?
Quitting day. Maybe my 14th actually was in my head. So
That's
maybe
what's
it
in my
is.
head. Is like
Yeah.
quitting day, which
Is
that then escalates to like 80% or something.
Yeah,
is
it's
where you're
something
like,
crazy,
that's the
like-
day where people say, I am not going to the gym anymore. I am not sticking to this diet anymore.
I've given up.
I've given up on this goal, this
Yeah.
New Year's resolution. But we're close to that. We're here
Yeah.
January the 9th. This is the time when you have either broken it or you're about to break it or you're thinking about it. I want us to help over the next 3 weeks talk about things that forget New Year's, but what are some transformational ideas that I can adopt, that I should consider, especially. So today we're going to be talking about replacing habits, more of, less of. Over the next couple of podcasts, we're going to talk about time, and I have got some dynamite stuff on time that I'm so excited to talk about that will hopefully change your life as it has changed mine. And we're going to talk about the power of language. All that's coming up over the next 3 podcasts today. After the break, we're going to share 5 transformational ideas, habits that you can replace after the break.
Paradigm Shift is the retailer for team building.
Gotta keep going.
We're just scatting. Scat it up, Jess. Scat it up.
First commercial.
New Year, same Jess.
Well, I'm not doing a commercial anymore, so y'all can just.
Dina's gonna be all over you on this.
Oh, that made me sad.
What are you advertising? What are we talking about? What was the?
Honestly,
cue?
What was
I'll
it
just,
supposed to be?
I'll just say it. We are the one-stop shop
Okay, I
for
like it.
team building resources. I
Boom.
mean, we have card decks.
I like that. There's nothing wrong with that.
We have curriculum.
Yes.
We got it all.
If you need leadership development, resources, training, or anything similar, go to www.ps.company. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
There's where you go. ps.company. Check us out.
Boom.
No, we are the one-stop shop for leadership resources. I got no qualms with that statement. You said you can get anything at ps.company.
I will-
And I was like, wait a minute. That is not true.
You can get
Hold on.
anything.
Hold on. Wait
That
a
is
minute.
carved into
not,
my
Amazon.
memory for
let's not
forever.
get crazy here.
I'm
Are we okay technically? I'm hearing some buzzing. Are we still good?
I'm still,
think we're good.
I'm still all for a pre-recorded
There's
commercial,
still
by the way.
buzzing, but-
Hey, pre-recorded commercials, that's fine, but I don't know. I like it.
I don't
like
know,
the
Jess.
live reads.
There's something authentic about
There
that.
is.
You know,
I like, we're
Can we
genuine.
get a compilation of
We are
all of my
genuine.
commercial mess ups? Like,
actually, Lem, you should keep those in your back pocket
Yeah.
at the end of every year. Just bam.
there's at least 5 at this point, I think.
Okay, New Year's transformation. I've got 5 habits. I'm going to drop these with you. And I discovered this, another LinkedIn video. I've been all over LinkedIn lately. That's the only social media platform I have. And I've somehow stumbled into this algorithm. They obviously see what I watch, what I click, and what I like, that I'm getting this constant feed. I first stumbled upon, there's a thought leader. Her name is Cody Sanchez, and she's on LinkedIn, and she's really into like business purchasing and scaling businesses. So it's really fascinating. She seems super successful. I don't know much about her, although she seems to put out good content, good stuff. And she proposed this. This was really nice. Approaching New Year, she was like, I'm doing a more of, less of list. And I was like, oh, okay, I kind of like that. Like, instead of just thinking just in New Year's and goals, because she's obviously a goal setter, she gets into the tangibles. And that's actually what her point was. She's like, most of my stuff and most of my thought process is very data-driven. I'm very hardcore on, like, I'm going to get this much return on this business, and I'm going to put this number of days into this. And so she's like, I need more of the higher level, more of, less of. And she had a really good list. And so I started thinking about me, and I made a quick more of, less of list for me. And as I was doing that, then I stumbled upon this other video. I cannot give credit to whomever made it. I have no idea. It was shared a million times. It was one of those generic. It had the AI voice on it. You know what I'm saying? Which just started to rub me the wrong way. Again, you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, you know what I'm talking about, Jess?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, the AI voice. Yeah, the guy's voice where it's like, I don't know. I can't even imitate
It
it.
might be actually TikTok, like because you can record your voice.
It
on
probably was a
TikTok
TikTok
and then do
originally.
a voice changer. On
I'm sure it
the app.
was. That's what
Yeah.
it was. It was a TikTok originally, definitely. And I just saw it on LinkedIn. But I have no idea who came up with these, but I really, really liked them. So I'm going to share those. First, I'm going to share my more of, less of list, just for accountability. This year, Jared Murr, I want more signature days, less chaotic time. Okay, more signature days, less chaotic time. We talked about that in podcasts previously, where as the achiever in me, if my day is segmented and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm having to be dad over here, and now I'm having to give a keynote, and now I'm having to make this business decision, my day feels so chaotic and I feel so unproductive. Whereas if it's a singular day, where it's like Jared is going to demolish the paradigm shift list today. Just, wow, he's just going to kill it. Or Jared is going to be the world's greatest dad today. I do much better in those days. So I'm calling those signature days. More distinct family time, less disorganized hope. I'm speaking to all the moms and dads out there that, you know, I really hate the things like quality time can't be planned. BS. Yes, it can. Quality time can be planned. You plan it out. You know what I'm saying? So spontaneity is overrated. You know, you're probably not going to do it. So you have to. So that's why I say list. I'm calling it disorganized hope, where it's like, what are we doing today? Well, we're going to spend some time together. We might do this. That's just hoping that we have a good day as a family instead of being like, nope, we're going to the zoo today.
Yeah.
Let's go to the zoo. Let's have fun.
For sure.
Do all those things. And finally, more quality, less quantity. So those are my more or less. And I'm curious, do you guys, off the top of your head, have any more of, less of, before we get into these 5 things? I'm going to give you the 5 things, and you can say, oh, I love that one. You can judge these.
I don't have any personal more of, less of, but I just want to say I really like how it's framed in a more of, less of stance instead of like an ins and outs stance, because I've seen, obviously the trend right now, there's like, you make an ins out, like an ins list and an outs list. And in the way that it's framed for you, it's like way more attainable. Like I feel like you can do a little less of this and a little more of this, and it makes it less harsh. And I mean, obviously you want important, harsh goals sometimes, but I think that we fail when we set such a high expectation, and that's why people quit at day 14 or whatever. So I really
You said obviously ins out. Is that a new trend?
It is, yeah. I've seen it mostly on TikTok, but I did screenshot a few on Instagram, and people just basically are like, this is my ins and outs list of 2024. And it could be anything. It could be mental health, like a mental health related, or like a product, or like just a trend that people have said, and they're like, we don't love this anymore. Or, yeah.
So it's the same vibe, though.
Yeah, but yours is like just little by little, I feel like.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the ins and outs feels to me like absolute.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
this is going in, this is going out.
Yeah.
This is going in, this must come out. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The
And then,
more or
yeah.
less is more, it's fluid, I think. Is what we're
Okay.
saying.
Well, and that might be what I'm getting at, because when I set goals, I feel like that's an in and out vibe. Like when I set a goal, it's like, this is my goal. It is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time, like whatever. This is the goal.
Yes.
It has a number to it generally. I can mark it. I can measure it. It's a yes, no, did I do this? I actually am, much like Cody Sanchez, I'm coming out to say, I think I need more, I hate to say more ambiguity, but more fluidity in my mindset, and more of like, instead of like pass fail, we live, I think Western civilization really has a right, wrong, yes, no. We have a dichotomous way of viewing the world. You know, can I do this? Yes or no? Is that black or is it white?
Yeah.
We don't do well in the Western world with like this ambiguity of, well, I'm doing better.
Yeah.
We like it, and self included. I like the goals. I like to say, yes, I did this, and I'm building. But we were on a road trip as a family a couple of years ago, and we were driving to Florida. So we live in Oklahoma. We're driving to Florida. It's about a 15-hour drive where we're headed or so. And so we're on the drive. And, of course, my kids, like all other kids, are giving me the are we there yet kind of questions and those sorts of things. Technology's done a lot to help us out with those questions.
Yeah.
From back when I was a kid, and it was just staring at the window for 15 hours. But we still get the how much longer and all those types of things. And Jocelyn, our middle child, is very mathematically minded. So she was like, tell me how many more minutes that we have. And I said, okay.
I love
So
her.
I told her, I didn't give it, you know me. I took the opportunity to make this learning opportunity. I was like, well, I'm not going to tell you, but I'll give you the distance. No, I'll give you we're going to be there at this time. It is currently this time. Go for it. Do whatever you want to. And Jocelyn, to her credit, she's like Rain Man back there. She was fast. She was like, oh, so we've got X number of minutes left. I was like, seems accurate. I think that's right. Yeah, I was like, I'd have to do the math, but I think that's right. She goes, okay. And then she asked this weird question where she was like, well, what if we want to go to Disney World? And I was like, well, that's further. And she was like, okay, how much further? And then she said, well, we would have to switch. Would we have to turn around? Would we have to change? I was like, no. We're on the right direction. She's like, well, what if we wanted to get here? And all these things. And I stumbled upon this statement that I really liked. I said, well, Jocelyn, if you're going the right direction, you will eventually get there. Because she was very fixated on the number. She's very fixated on, well, how much further is Disney World? How much further is this beach? Well, when we get there, is that the house or the beach? And I was like, well, that's the house. Well, how much further is the beach? Well, once we get there, we'll basically be at the beach, so it's not really further. Yeah, but how many minutes? Is it a walk? Is it a drive? I mean, she was really fixated on the numbers
you're
and the
literally your
math.
daughter.
And I was
That's all
like,
I'm hearing.
and so I just said, well, if you're going in the right direction, you will eventually get there. And I was like, okay, whoa, boom.
That'll preach.
That'll preach. And so for this New Year's transformation, I want to encourage you, goal setters, hey, we're going to do a whole thing on goals in a few podcasts from now. But in kind of above the goals, to me, is this idea of what are your mindsets going into these goals? Are you going in the general direction you want to go? Whether you hit the goal or not, are you going in that direction? Because I think sometimes we can be guilty, especially in the professional world, we set goals that we think we should set. It's like, well, I should set this goal.
Yep.
You know, or even just in our personal lives. Well, I guess I should set a health goal. Like I had to challenge myself on. One of my goals is to wake up at 6 a.m. and improve my routine. And I really had to challenge myself because I was like, why do you want to wake up at 6 a.m.? Feels like nobody cares but you, and you only care because other people care. That's pretty good, by the way, Jess. I'll slow down. I'm gonna say that again.
Wow. You
Feels
bring it
like
back.
you only care because other people care, and nobody cares but you. You know, we think all these people are watching us sometimes. We think all this thing, and it's like nobody's even paying attention to you. Nobody's even, you know,
Yeah.
it's like nobody, you know, like even things like, I think I could wear the same clothes every single day, and it would take about 3 months before somebody said, you wearing the same thing every day? Like, feels like you're wearing that a lot, you know? Things like that, where it's like people just don't notice. What you got, Anj?
Oh, I was just gonna say no for you with this staff. Someone would, Dina would be like, "Mer, why are
Okay,
you wearing the same
I'm on-
shirt?"
I'm-
I mean,
yes,
you'd have about a day
true,
and a half.
But
Just to clarify.
Well, I will say this: Dina could
People
wear the
care.
same thing a couple months in a row, and I would not care. Whatever, great. You could save a lot of money on wardrobe if you're trying to impress Mer over here. So that being said, here are these mindsets, and this is about the transformation of instead of being so quitting on January 14th and saying I failed at that goal. Looking at the transformation of saying, well, what direction do I want to go? Because if I go in the right direction, I will eventually get there. The road is long. And the older I get, the more I realize, wow, this road is long. Life is short and life is long, not at the same time. So it's like, okay, here are the 5 transformations that I heard that I really, really like. What I'd like for you all to do, I'm going to give you a challenge. I want you to pick the one that resonates with you the most, that you're like, wow, that's the one that really hits me. I'm thinking about that one. I need that one. Or you might add one that you're like, just using that idea. Okay, here we go. Replace, and these are all phrased in replace. Replace overthinking with action. Replace overthinking with action. I'm going to go through these quickly, and then we'll pick the ones that we like the most, or tips or ideas that we've done. Number 2, replace complaining with gratitude. Number 3, replace blame with responsibility. Number 4, replace TV with exercise or reading. Ouch. And number 5, replace fake friends with mentors. I didn't come up with fake friends, by the way. That's not my terminology. That was from the video.
You know,
I don't know how
You
I
knew
feel
I
about
liked
fake
it.
friends.
I love it.
I loved it. I thought of all I could hear was Kanye. You know,
Well,
it's a song.
I get it. I like fake friends. Fine for the placeholder there. Probably not the terminology I would use. I'd probably insert something.
When you first said it, I thought to myself, fake friends feels like something very interesting for Jared.
It's straight from the video.
specifically, But I'm realizing now it's content.
It's
not
straight from the video. It's
just Jared
content. It's not just me.
Yeah.
This is not my content. I didn't come up with this list, but I liked it. So any of those stand out to you that you're like, wow, I like that. I think the world needs that. I think I need that. What's standing out to you out of those 5? Complaining with gratitude, overthinking with action, blame with responsibility, TV with exercise and books, fake friends with mentors.
Specifically, I really resonate with overthinking with action.
Okay.
I just am an overthinker, and that's okay. But I will say it's funny that this isn't on a list because something for this year that and I think that I started it a little bit before the year, which makes it better. But anytime I'm like really caught up in my head about something, I think if I'm on my drive home from work or I'm just at home alone or whatever, and I just get caught up in my mind, I go to the gym.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
That's cool.
I am like-
That's good. That's cool.
I am getting way too worked up about this right now. And so I started doing that.
That is a really good action step
that's
for
cool.
people, though. You know, because that's what I mean. Unlike the Yahoo at the beginning, where we said he's not giving practical examples, this is like, okay, how do you replace overthinking with action? I like that. Go to the gym. Go for a walk. Even just
And
like
it's been good.
Go for the walk. Do an exercise. Do something. Get out of the headspace that you're in. I love that. That's a good one, Jess. Anj, what's sticking out to you?
That's good. I like I do like the fake friends with mentors one. I've talked about that a lot. I feel like in the last month, though, I think as a female, it's just very interesting to try and find mentors in the world.
Good luck.
It is, yeah. It's men are like weird about it. Like you can't teach me anything for some reason because you're a different gender than I am, or you're worried I'm just gonna, disrupt your integrity
Yep.
if I have all the power. Or you just, if you prefer to, deep dive with a female, they're honestly just kind of hard to come by. So, and then if you do come by them, they're juggling a whole lot normally, just like any leader in the world is. So I think I've been wrestling with that tension, but something that I've been trying to encourage myself with is just defining a mentor and how you define that, making that a better definition. Like, it doesn't need to be this, am I thinking of like Yoda? Like,
Yep,
all
totally.
master.
Keep going. You are totally tracking with
All
me.
master Yoda.
Yep.
Like, wow, I go to you for everything.
Yep.
I hear you for everything. You're like reading these, like business books or whatever, and this guy's still talking about the one guy who's been mentoring him for like 25 years.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to look like that. I've had to give myself that freedom a lot in the last year, especially. Like that one coffee with that one person for that one time where I got a really good piece of advice that I've held on to for 6 months. That was mentorship.
Yep.
I didn't have to go back. I don't have to it doesn't have to be the one person I keep going to. I also have expanded mentorship to also be not just who you're speaking with in the moment. So like if I read I read Shoe Dog. I talked to you about that recently.
Yep.
To me, that was like an action of mentorship. I was like, I learned more almost out of that book than I have in a one-on-one conversation in the last month. You know?
Totally.
So I've really had to expand that, but also not try and let myself get too far because I'll give myself too much freedom with the books and the podcast that I don't still seek out mentors. So I'm trying to do one networking thing a month, whether that's just a coffee or like something I attend or something that is an in-person action to meet with someone and be able to just hear perspective and wisdom and just life relevance.
I feel the same way as you because as you read all these things and people allude to or directly discuss mentorship, and they often have someone that's like, this is my mentor for 20 years, 30 years. I've learned two things for me. Number one, I don't know all the nuances of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they could have been a really hardcore mentor for 1 year and then I've known them for 29 more.
Right.
Like I think of some people, like I would say, there was a pastor in my life who was, he's my mentor. Well, he was for a year and a half, and I've known him for the remaining 20 years.
Yeah.
But is he actively mentoring me consistently for 20 years? Probably not.
Yeah.
So there's nuance there, but I love what you're saying because I think people feel this pressure, or at least I have, to like, well, I should find a mentor, and who's mentoring me? And it's also the older you get, the more obtuse it is to be like, hey, Lemuel, will you be my mentor? Like, or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely.
like how, thank you.
Say
How do you,
yes.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if it's like, hey, Jared, I'm thinking of you, I'd really like you to mentor me.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
So I think that we should instead think in more active verbs like teach or guide, like you're saying. And it's like, okay, fake friends with teachers, and who can teach me about. So I'm with you on. I'm broadening the definition of mentor instead of thinking of like a mentor is this all or nothing person that's going to guide us in all areas of life. It's like, well, hey, this person is better at this than me, whatever this is. This person is better at online marketing than me. This person is better at communication than me. This person is better at being a dad than me.
Yeah.
Better at work-life balance. Like, man, he seems to have it all together. He probably doesn't, but he's doing something I admire. And I'm going to reach out and say, hey, will you can I grab coffee with you and talk about being a dad?
Yeah.
That is if someone asked me that question,
Yeah.
hey, Jared, can I grab coffee with you and talk about how you balance work-life?
Yep.
Sure. Any person on our staff that asked me that, I would say, yeah, let's grab coffee and talk about work-life balance. If anyone else said, hey, will you be my mentor? I would probably say no. Like, well,
Yeah.
it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
What do you mean
Yeah.
by that? I don't know that I can commit to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really loaded word. I like it for the list, but I like what you're saying even better.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. I think it's in the book Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, but I think there's
Just
a
bought it.
chapter. Did you really? Oh my gosh, I'll nerd out about it, but I won't right
sit on my
now.
well,
We
let
don't
me
have
read
time
it.
right
Let me
now.
read it first, and then we can nerd out.
Excellent book. I honestly should go back and read it now in this current season of my life. But excellent book. Anyway, I think there's a chapter in it that's called Are You My Mentor? And if I remember correctly, she talks about that. Like, don't put the pressure on people
yeah.
when you ask that question, like, will you be my mentor? I think she was saying both can be true. Like, they can be your mentor without saying that they are. Like,
Yeah.
they don't have to introduce someone as like, hi, my name's Andre Heyer. I'm Jessica Treat's mentor. And I do all these other things too. Like that, it doesn't negate the fact that she is my mentor. I look to her for advice just because we haven't solidified. There's just such a pressure to put a label on it sometimes, I think, for people.
Totally.
And she kind of like debunks that. What I also love about her is she's actually one female who, one of her greatest mentors was an old boss of hers. That was a male, and she just talks about guiding that relationship really well. And I love being able to read some of that too.
Yeah,
so it
very
was
cool.
interesting. But yeah, highly recommend that if you're really interested in understanding mentorship.
That's Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, right?
Yep.
Did I
I
get her
just
name right?
added it to my Amazon list.
Excellent. Lim, which one's sticking out to you?
Man, I like the overthinking with action a lot, but I think my favorite is probably replace complaining with gratitude. I like that one because to me, gratitude seems to be a knock-on mindset that affects so many more things. To me, it seems super connected to my worldview. If I'm thankful, then I'm probably going to be more likely to do the good things that I know I'm supposed to be doing.
What are some ways that you've noticed in your life? And you might not have this answer. Maybe you're like, oh, I'm kind of trying to figure that out. Like, how do you replace complaining with gratitude? Or, you know what I'm saying? What's the active?
So if we're having a hard time, me and Joanna and my daughter Lennon will say, all right, we're all going to go around and say 2 things you're thankful for. So we literally will do that probably at least every other day, maybe every third day, but we try to do it every day.
Okay, very cool. So just the habit of naming it.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. These are all great for me. I actually think I'm with Anj, but more on the fake friend side. And it's interesting because I'm 42 years old. That's why the term fake friend really is like.
Yeah, that made me giggle.
I'm like, okay, fake friend? Like at this point, what is a fake friend? Like I'm not in high school. That just sounds like a high school thing. You know, I had some fake friends in high school. Now I'm like, so I am using the word taker instead.
That's good.
I'm using the word taker. Like, because I don't know. This is a totally another episode, and maybe even just counseling sessions, not this. But I am trying to figure out to whom am I obligated, and in life, and what are the who are the people in my life that are enriched by me, and I am enriched with the presence. It doesn't mean that everybody is going to have this perfect relationship. That's not it. But it's talking about like, oh man. I can have this connection with this person. It doesn't mean that we're best friends, but man, I admire you and we're going to go have coffee and I'm going to learn from you and hopefully you're going to learn from me. And that's that relationship. But what about people in your life that have been in your life for a long time? Mm-hmm. Is it, do you keep that relationship going? How can you change that relationship? How do you change those patterns? That's what I'm really working through. And once again, I don't think it's an all or nothing. I don't think even like this. Yeah. Like that's why I like more of, less of, going back to this full circle. I'm not like, okay, this person's in, this person's out. It's more, you know what? I want more of edifying relationships, less, belittling relationships. Mm-hmm. I want more, giving, less taking. Those sorts of things with relationships, both professionally and personally. Mm-hmm. So wherever you are today, there were some great takeaways there. My top 2 takeaways from everybody said, I love this. Think of mentor as a verb rather than a noun. That's my big summary of what Anj said. If you said, oh, will you mentor me in this way, in this moment, not be my mentor forever and always. But I can certainly say, wow, they really mentored me through that season. They really mentored me in that topic. They mentored me as a verb in this area for that time. And that was great. And I'm very thankful for that. And then also, I love Jess's very practical tip of, man, when you're overthinking, go work out. Move, even if it's in your own house, just move something, break that cycle and just move. I love that tip. So wherever you are, I hope that this year you can give yourself some grace. And yes, as we set goals and we try to hit milestones and we try to get better in these certain ways, we also recognize that as good leaders, hopefully we are on the right path. And if we're on the right path, if you're going the general direction, you will eventually get where you want to go. That's what we need in this world. We need more people out there who are going toward the direction that fulfills them, that makes them the best versions of themselves. So go out there, try your best, and be a good leader.